با سپاس بیشمار از برگزار کنندگان این برنامه، سخنان ما در مورد گزارش نهادهای حقوق بشری. مطابق گزارش نهادهای حقوق بشری و گزارشگر ویژه حقوق بشر سازمان ملل متحد در امور ایران، وضعیت حقوق بشر در ایران هر روز که می‌گذرد وخیم‌تر می‌شود. تعداد اعدام‌ها، بازداشت‌ها، قطع اعضای بدن با عنوان مجازات اسلامی، تهدیدها و تبعیض‌ها همه نشان از آن دارد که گویا حقوق بشر برای نظام حاکم بر ایران اصلاً موضوعیت ندارد. امروز در ایران هر صدای مخالفی توسط نهادهای امنیتی سرکوب می شود، تا جایی که صدای اعتراض رئیس جمهور نیز درآمده و ایشان در جلسه هیئت دولت در 13 سپتامبر 2017 اعلام کرد که باید جامعه امن باشد، نه امنیتی. تجربه 40 ساله نشان داده که زور و اجبار و امنیتی کردن جامعه کار نمی کند. این سخنان حسن روحانی نشان می دهد که فضای جامعه کاملا امنیتی است. امروز در ایران تنها راهی که برای زندانیان سیاسی عقیدتی باقی مانده اعتصاب غذا و در خطر انداختن جان خود است. در هر کدام از زندانها که امروز بنگرید چند زندانی در حال اعتصاب غذا هستند که از جمله میتوان به اعتصاب زندانیان زندان رجایی شهر کرج اشاره کرد که در چند هفته گذشته توجه نهادهای بین‌المللی سیاسی و حقوق بشری را به خود جلب کرد و با بیانیه‌های خود از نظام حاکم بر ایران خواستند که به مطالبات این زندانیانی که ابتدایی ترین حقوق یک انسان است رسیدگی کنند. ولی دادستان تهران در پاسخ گفت که قوه قضائیه به این اعتصاب‌ها بی‌اعتنا خواهد بود و تغییری در رویه خود نخواهد داد. وضعیت رضا شهابی و دکتر مهدی خزعلی به علت اعتصاب‌های طولانی مدت و گاهی اعتصاب خشک وخیم گزارش شده و خطر مرگ آنها را تهدید می‌کند. محمود بهشتی لنگرودی سخنگوی پیشین کانون صنفی معلمان نیز که 11 سپتامبر مجدداً بازداشت شد دست به اعتصاب غذا زده است. از سوی دیگر روحانیون مستقل از حکومت نیز وضعیتشان بهتر از دیگر زندانیان سیاسی عقیدتی نیست. به عنوان مثال آیت الله نکونام با 69 سال سن و بیماری‌های گوناگون هر چند روز یک بار از زندان به بیمارستان منتقل و دوباره علیرغم دستور پزشکان بر بستری کردن ایشان در بیمارستان او را به زندان باز می‌گرداند. وضعیت بهداری و بهداشت زندان بسیار اسفبار و به نحوی است که زندانیان را به مرگ تدریجی، نقض عضو و معلولیت سوق می‌دهد. نمونه بارز آن علیرضا رجایی روزنامه‌نگار اصلاح طلبی است که به دلیل عدم رسیدگی پزشکی در دوران زندگی یک چشم و بخشی از صورت خود را از دست داد. آرش صادقی و زینب جلالیان نیز وضعیت وخیمی دارند و باید در بیمارستان بستری و تحت درمان قرار گیرند که ماه‌هاست مسئولان زندان با انتقال آنها به بیمارستان مخالفت می‌کنند. علیرغم وعده‌های انتخاباتی، تبعیض‌های جنسی، مذهبی و قومی در ایران به قوت خود باقی است. امروز دیگر پایمال کردن حقوق بانوان ایرانی توسط نظام حاکم بر کسی پوشیده نیست. بانوان ما در کشور خود از حق ورود به ورزشگاه‌ها محرومند، ولی زنان سوریه در همین زمان در ایران از همین حق برخوردار هستند و این تنها نمونه بسیار کوچکی از پایمال کردن حقوق زنان ایران است. وضعیت به نحوی است که محمد یزدی دبیر جامعه مدرسین حوزه علمیه قم رسما درخواست کرده که وضعیت زنان را در ارتباط با پست ریاست جمهوری یکسره کنند. و رسما اعلام کنند که در ایران زنان نمیتوانند رئیس جمهور شوند. و در این حال مشاهده کردیم که رئیس جمهور مملکت نمیتواند وزیر زن داشته باشد و این نشان از زن ستیز بودن حاکمیت در ایران را دارد. در ارتباط با تبعیض قومی در ایران کافی است نگاهی به استانهای سیستان و بلوچستان، کردستان و خوزستان بیندازیم و وضعیت مردم را در این استانها رصد کنیم. کشتار بیرحمانه عرب‌های اهواز و کوربران کردستان و هموطنان سیستان و بلوچستان به بهانه قاچاق و خود مؤید این حقیقت است. تبعیض‌های مذهبی و عقیدتی نیز به قوت خود باقی است. نقض مستمر حقوق بهائیان، اهل تسنن، دراویش و دیگر مذاهب و مکاتب در ایران به روشنی حکایت از عمق فاجعه دارد. هموطنان اهل تسنن هنوز در تهران یک مسجد ندارند و مساجد و اماکن آنها نیز که در این چند سال توسط گروه‌های تندرو تخریب شد مورد بررسی قرار نگرفته و هیچ غرامتی از آن بابت دریافت نکردند. همچنان ایجاد تضییق و موانع برای سفر قطب دراویش نعمت اللهی گنابادی به گناباد زادگاهش ادامه دارد و پس از گذشت 12 سال از تخریب حسینیه‌های دراویش در شهرهای قم، بروجرد، اصفهان هنوز هیچ مقام مسئولی پاسخگو نبوده است. نمونه دیگر نقض فاحش حقوق بشر در ایران صدور مجدد حکم اعدام برای دکتر محمد علی طاهری با فشار سپاه پاسداران است. ایشان 5 سال دوره زندان خود را به پایان رساند و 2 سال کاملا غیرقانونی در زندان نگاه داشته شد و همکنون مجدداً با استناد به همان قانونی که بار گذشته توسط دیوان عالی کشور نقض شده بود به اعدام محکوم شده است و این نشان از این دارد که قوه قضاییه در ایران به ابزاری برای تشکیل دادگاه‌های استرلینیستی برای محکوم کردن افراد بیگناه به اعدام و حبس‌های طولانی مدت تبدیل شده است. نمونه دیگر آقای عبدالفتاح سلطانی وکیل سرشناس و شجاع ایرانی است که به 13 سال زندان محکوم شده است که در حال حاضر شرایط ایشان نیز وخیم است و مسئولان زندان نیز به وضعیت ایشان کاملا بی‌اعتنا هستند. یکی دیگر از موارد نقض حقوق انسان‌ها توسط نظام حاکم بر ایران تهدید روزنامه‌نگاران و فعالان مدنی، سیاسی و حقوق بشری در خارج از کشور است که برای مثال میتوان به روح الله زم روزنامه‌نگار مستقل در خارج از کشور اشاره کرد. روح الله زم بارها توسط نیروهای امنیتی تهدید به قتل شده و برای تشدید فشارها بر او برای اعضای خانواده‌اش در ایران توسط قوه قضاییه پرونده‌سازی شده و آنها را بارها بازداشت کرده‌اند و همکنون برادر او همچنان در زندان است. به هر حال وقت تنگ است و نمونه‌های نقض مستمر و گسترده حقوق بشر در ایران توسط نظام حاکم بر ایران بسیار زیاد است و این وضعیت متاسفانه روز به روز وخیم‌تر می‌شود.
The co-manager of the international institution of defending the human rights. She's going to talk generally about the human rights situation in Iran. And some friends in Facebook have asked us because there are many we don't have so much audience here because there is a parallel event where Mr. Kofi Annan is speaking, but many are following us through Facebook. Please, thank you so much. My speech will be about a report about human rights. According to numerous reports from various human rights institutions and the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Human Rights on the Affairs of Iran, the human rights situation in Iran is getting worse every day. The number of executions, arrests, amputations known as Islamic punishments, and increasing use of threats and discriminations all go to show that human rights and human values are totally irrelevant to the ruling system in Iran. Today in Iran, virtually all voices of opposition are suppressed by the security agencies, to the point that even the Iranian president objected to the current situation in his recent September 13th government meeting, where he stated, "We should live in a safe and secure society and not in a security-imposed society." However, as 40 years of experience has shown, the use of oppression and use of force in order to secure the society does not work. Hassan Rouhani's words, in fact, go to show that the atmosphere of the society is one that is completely based on oppressive imposed security. Today in Iran, the only way left for the prisoners of conscience and those who are in prison for their belief is by endangering their life through an ever-growing number of hunger strikes that we see. For a typical example, one only need to look at the number of prisoners who are on hunger strike in Rajai Shah prison of Karaj, who in the past few weeks, because of their deplorable conditions, have attracted the attention of many international political and human rights organizations, who in response in their statements called on the Iranian regime to address the demands of these prisoners, who are simply requesting the most basic rights due to any human being. Tehran's prosecutor, in response to these demands, simply replied that the judiciary would never pay attention to these strikes and will never alter their policy towards these prisoners. Reza Shahabi and Dr. Mehdi Khazalis are examples of these types of prisoners of conscience who are reported to be in very critical condition due to long periods of hunger strike, which were at times dry hunger strike. Moreover, Mahmoud Beheshti-Langrudi, the former spokesman of the Association of the Teachers Union, who was arrested again on September 11th, is also on hunger strike. Furthermore, clerics who are independent of the state are not in much better position than other political prisoners. For example, Ayatollah Nekunam, who is 69 and with various illness, seems to be transferred daily to the hospital only to be later returned to his cell over and again, despite the order of the doctors. The health situation in Iranian prisons is so poor that it leads to gradual death and disability of prisoners. A typical example is the case of Alireza Rajai, a reformist journalist who, owing to the lack of medical examination during his imprisonment, not only lost an eye but also lost part of his face. Furthermore, Arash Sadeghi and Zainab Jalalian are both in a serious condition and should have been hospitalized many months ago for treatment, and yet prison authorities have repeatedly opposed their transfer to the hospital. Additionally, despite recent election promises, gender, religious, and ethnic discrimination and persecution remains rampant in Iran. Women's rights violations in today's Iran are not just about imposed hijab, but women in our country are even deprived of the right to enter stadiums, all the while Syrian women at the same time are allowed to attend the same stadiums that the Iranian women are banned from. All these are only a very small example of the violations of Iranian women's rights. The situation is such that Mohammad Yazdi, the secretary of the Qom Seminary Teachers Society, has requested that the status of women in relation to the presidential post be officially declared in such a way that in Iran women can in no way become president. In fact, judging by the current makeup of the Iranian cabinet, the president of the country cannot even have a female minister. And all this is clearly a sign of the misogynist principles of the Iranian regime. In relation to ethnic discrimination in Iran, it is merely enough to look at the provinces of Sistan and Balochistan, Kurdistan and Khuzestan, and the status of the people in these provinces to see real examples of ethnic discrimination in Iran. For example, we only need to look at the brutal murder of ethnic Arabs in Ahvaz and Kulbaran in Kurdistan, and Iranian compatriots of Sistan and Balochistan under the pretext of smuggling, to see the truth of ethnic discrimination in Iran. Religious and ideological discrimination also persists. The continued violation of the rights of Baha'i, Sunni, Sufis, and other religions and schools in Iran clearly shows the depth of this tragedy. For example, Sunni compatriots still have no mosques in Tehran, and their mosques and their places of worship, which was demolished by radical groups over the last few years, have never been investigated. The Iranian regime also continues to create difficulties and obstacles for the Ne'matullah Qonabadi Sufis. For example, the head of the Qonabadi Sufi order, Mr. Noorani Tabande, is still prohibited from visiting his home and birthplace Qonabad. Furthermore, after 12 years since the destruction of the Sufis' house of worship in the cities of Qom, Buruj and Isfahan, there has not yet been any official investigation. Yet another example of a gross human rights violation in Iran is the reintroduction of the death sentence for Mr. Taheri, which was reinstated purely through the pressure exerted by the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, even though Dr. Taheri has completed his 5-year prison term and has now been in jail for almost 2 years after the end of his original 5-year sentence. Mr. Abdul Fattah Soltani's case is also another example of brutal treatment of a brave Iranian lawyer who has been sentenced to 13 years in prison, who is also in a critical condition. All the while, prison authorities seem to be completely ignorant of his condition. Another example of violation of human rights by the Iranian regime is threatening journalists and civil, political, and human rights activists abroad. For example, the case of the overseas independent journalist Ruhollah Zehzam, whose life has been repeatedly threatened by the Iranian security forces, and many members of his family have been targeted to harassment of the Iranian judiciary, who have repeatedly filed false charges against him and have frequently arrested his family members, including his brother, who is still in prison. It is easy to see in the course of this short account and through the number of examples given that violations of human rights in Iran is not only widespread, but it is continuous. These violations are in effect the systematic policy of the ruling regime in Iran, which unfortunately means the human rights conditions in Iran are getting worse day by day. Thank you, Mrs. Noorani. Some friends through Facebook have asked some questions, and I will tell you these questions. And if the friends present here have questions, they can also ask. And I ask our panelists to answer very shortly. Many questions here are about Mr. Mohammad Ali Taheri. And they have asked also about the refugees and asylum seekers in Turkey. and they have asked us to remind the sexual minorities and also talk about Atena Daimi. There is one specific question that why none of the governments don't put direct pressure on the Iranian regime to release the political prisoners. Which one is more important, the human rights or economic relations? And they have asked us to recall the prisoners who are on hunger strike, that Mrs. Noorani said very completely. And these are the most of the questions which had been written. Please go on if you have a question. بله من سوال دارم. میکروفون. من معذرت میخوام به خاطر تأخیری که داشتم، چون یک قرار داشتیم. من دوست داشتم بدونم که این دریاچه که آیا این دریاچه میتونه شغلی هم ایجاد کنه و چقدر طول میکشه که این نمک رو بردارن از اونجا. آیا میتونیم بگیم که این به خاطر کیفیت نمکه که یا مثلا کسی نیست که با اون نمک کاری بکنه، به خاطر اینکه خب این میتونه تبدیل به یک مشکل بشه. من دوست داشتم در این مورد بدونم که بعدا یه سوال دیگه هم میپرسم. We have 10 minutes and each of the panelists would answer according to the questions. We begin with Mrs. Hadipur. Thank you very much for your attention. And those who are following us online. About Mr. Mohammed Ali Tahiri, I can say he's being trended in the world news and everywhere it's being spoken about him, and that he has been imprisoned illegally and unjustly since 7 years ago, solely because of his belief and just because of using his right of freedom of expression. And because of that, he's under huge pressure and physical and psychological torture, which go on still, especially by the IRGC. And they want to kind of eliminate this person, and they put too much pressure on his students. And as I said before, they are being arrested constantly, and as far as we know, they have been forced to confess against Mr. Tahiri. What we know is Mr. Tahiri, since Mr. Tahiri has began his activities. Everything he did was legal. His books, which were published, they had the certificate, they had the permission of the government. But when he found too many supporters, then the government felt danger and tried to charge him. And now we see that he has been sentenced to death on false charges. And as I said, because of his belief, only because of his belief. Thank you. Thank you very much. Mrs. Tabrizi, please go on. I thank you for your question. Yes, since long time ago, the government is using that salt illegally, and that salt is being sold, and just that they have to get the salt for selling, it causes dust in the region. But if they hadn't touched it, because the salt was solid, we wouldn't have so much dust in the region. But that's what they have done. By getting salt from the lake, the salt is not going to be finished. The lake is very big, and there is so much salt that you cannot get it and solve the problem. The government shouldn't have let those who wanted to earn money to get that salt, because they broke that solid salt and they took it and they are selling it to other countries, and this causes dust to begin before what it was originally supposed to begin. And now nothing can be done except that they exercise the plans which have been there, like to use a special kind of plants there. But the budget which was planned to be used was used in other places, like the war in Iraq. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, Mrs. Noorani has no opportunity to answer. There is one important question, that what is the solution to for the human rights violations, and I should mention that there is a question about Kul Baran and Arash Sadeghi. And you know that the United Nations has its human rights mechanisms, and there are 3: Special Rapporteur, and the treaty bodies, and the UPR, which is a newer system. And we use these mechanisms to attract the attention to the human rights violations in Iran. Through this session and the other sessions, of course, we try to get into a dialogue with the Human Rights Council in interactive dialogues with special rapporteurs. Many things that you mentioned, like Kul Baran, Arash Sadeghi, and many others who have been imprisoned, have been mentioned through these mechanisms, and the Human Rights Council is informed about it. This is a general answer, and you want to add something, please go on. ببخشید، من میخواستم بدونم، من خیلی دانشجو داشتم و به نظر میاد که یک کدی اینجا بود که اینکه چیزایی که انجام شده و چیزایی که ما نمیتونیم انجام بدیم. و وقتی ما در مورد حقوق بشر حرف میزنیم، چه کاری شما با اون انجام میدین؟ چطور نوجوانان میتونن در واقع در خلال این پروسه چیزی در مورد حقوق بشر یاد بگیرن که این چیزی که ما تو جهان انجام دادیم؟ آیا آموزش پرورش حقوق بشر وجود داره تو دانشگاه ها، تو مدارس و تو خانواده ها؟ و ما چطور میتونیم این رو این برای من جالبه که بدونم. Thank you so much, but unfortunately our time is finished. But there are other sessions, other programs, other events. But just about human rights education, if any of the panelists would like to say something, we could listen to him and finish it. About human rights education, I wanted to give an explanation about Iran through the United Nations office in Iran. There is a very, very limited little classes for very special schools, that very limited number of pupils can go there and learn some parts of human rights. In Iran, what we know is that there is a very selective education of human rights. That means they don't talk about freedoms, they just talk about financial rights, and that's also very limited. For example, when we talk about the women's rights, they don't teach it. But when you talk about the rights of life, or which something that would lead to not being sanctioned, they would talk about it very much. Unfortunately, the issue of universal human rights is not being respected in Iran, and there are just some special things that the Iranian government thinks that are useful for him, so they use it. So like about prohibition of torture, or the right to having their belief, these wouldn't be taught in Iran. But a very small number of pupils would learn about these limited things, but there is nothing in the Iranian curriculum about the human rights. Thank you all the friends for your presence, those who are here and those who followed us on social media. We will be here tomorrow on 2 o'clock with another side event, and I hope that the friends who are here and the friends on social media would follow us. Thank you so much. من؟ نه شما بگیرید، من نمیرم. من نه جمع کنم آخه.
مرسی آقای مترجم، دست شما.
خواهش میکنم صداتون از کجا میاد؟